Hi, everybody, and welcome back to my channel. Today, we're going to be talking about anxiety and social anxiety and invasive thoughts. These kind of all go hand in hand when it comes down to having panic attacks, anxiety attacks. And I'm going to go over a couple things that kind of helps me whenever it comes down to dealing with those and some of the things that have kind of helped me. Also, go over a couple triggers that may be causing you to have the anxiety as well too. So let's go ahead and talk about it. Now, for me, I have social anxiety really bad. I love to stay home, and as I'm getting older, I'm realizing that I don't really like going out. So anytime I go to Walmart, anytime I go to any store or anything like that where I have to go grocery shopping or I have stuff I have to do, I get anxiety. A lot of times I get anxiety by the time I hit the parking lot. It's really bad. It's like very elevated whenever I get there. So what I started doing was I started paying attention to my thoughts. What is causing those anxieties? And a lot of times I play out scenarios in my head of maybe somebody saying something, somebody hit my car with a buggy, or, a conflict happening in a store, or, just I keep thinking of things that could go wrong. And a lot of times, what winds up happening is there's a lot of scenarios that I wind up playing out inside my head that don't exist. And because of that, and because I've done it for a while, I start molding my thought patterns to where I'm now having anxiety attacks about situations that never existed or not going to exist. Now, keep in mind that if you focus on something too much, then yeah, you can make things come to light. For instance, if you have a friend that had bought a car, right? You never see that car on the road, but because you paid attention to that car, now you start seeing that car all over the place. The same thing happens whenever you start focusing your attention on things like somebody staring at you, or somebody saying something to you. And I feel like it kind of puts you in a negative atmosphere and a negative mindset to kind of provoke those things and attract those things to you. Like-minded things happen. So definitely pay attention to your thoughts. Now, for me, what winds up happening for me is every time I go into a parking lot of wherever it is that I'm going to, and I start to have anxiety, I start doing my breathing techniques where I will sit back, lay my head back, and then I'll breathe in my nose and out my mouth. And I breathe in my nose for as long as I can and out my mouth for as long as I can. And I do that repetitively until I feel calm down. You want to be able to get the anxiety up here to go down. You want to be able to feel your blood pressure go down. You want to be able to feel those thoughts go down. Keep in mind that what you pay attention to is what you attract. So, with that being said, start thinking positive things instead of thinking of negative things in the store or in the parking lot, or whatever it is that you have to go achieve. Try to think of it in a different aspect. Like, oh man, when I get in there, things are going to happen for me. I know that I'm going to find what I'm looking for. I know that it's going to be on sale. I know that by the time I get home, I'm going to cook dinner and it's going to be good for the family. Just try to put yourself in that mindset. It'll help you. It'll definitely help relieve a lot of that stress. And definitely start paying attention to like the triggers. What is it that triggers you? What is it that makes you have the anxiety? I know for me, for a very long time, we subconsciously think of things and triggers that wind up happening without even having to have a forethought, that winds up causing these things. And if we don't pay attention to that, then they'll kind of sneak up on you, and then you won't know how to handle them. And then you end up in a panic mode whenever you're out in public. I used to get like that as well, too, whenever I would be in traffic. And living in North Carolina is it's not the easiest thing with traffic. So but anyhow, what I started doing was I started taking my focus off of exactly what it was that I was doing. I was paying attention to the road, don't get me wrong, but I was thinking of things that I could do, like maybe grilling out, or okay, I need to cut the grass, or I got this coming up. And I would kind of start putting my mind off of the actual task that was going on, and kind of put myself in a little bit of an autopilot. And then it got a little easier. Another thing too is exposure. So if you seclude yourself to your living environments and you don't really get out around social gatherings, or you get around a lot of people, then whenever you finally do go out, you're not used to that. So the very first thing that winds up happening is you start getting anxiety because that's not something that you're really accustomed to. I know for me, there was a couple years where I just stayed at my house, didn't really go nowhere. I would order stuff online, and that's kind of how I dealt with things. However, whenever I got introduced back to the public, it was definitely a cause for concern as far as my mental capacity. And I had to wind up learning how to adapt back to that as well too. Now, the more you're exposed to something, then the less the anxiety happens. Because a lot of times anxiety is just a false perception of things, right? So when you get out there and you're scared to death of traffic, and you start driving and stuff like that, then after a while, when you're safely driving and you're getting from point A to point B, you kind of let that go down a little bit. Well, the same thing happens when you go out in public and you have that fear and you're trying to discard that fear, you're trying to get rid of that fear. A lot of times what winds up happening is the more you go out in public and the more good experiences you get going out in public, because you're going to feel uncomfortable, whenever you haven't done it in a while, but the more good experiences that you get, the more that anxiety or those invasive thoughts or false thoughts that happen into your head, the more that they go away, because you're entertaining yourself. You're seeing that there's a different story to what's going on other than what you're telling yourself. Now, I know for me, those are things that really help. A lot of times, whenever I get into a situation where I start to have anxiety, I will remove myself mentally from whatever the situation is. I will go into the bathroom. I will put some cold water on my face. I'll breathe in my nose, out my mouth, and I'll do it very calmly and calm myself down, because a lot of my anxiety and a lot of the attacks that I've experienced in my life have always been a false perception of what was actually going on. With that being said, I really hope that this video finds you, and I really hope that this video helps. Definitely leave a comment in the comments section and let me know what it did for you. With that being said, I hope you guys have a beautiful and blessed day.